Good evening, everybody. At this time, we will open the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the town of Trumbull for Wednesday, June 26th. Everyone, please rise. Oh. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call. Linda, Commissioner Delvecchio is here, Commissioner Silber is here, I am here, and Commissioner Deacon is here. Commissioner Cousins is absent, and Commissioner Cariglian is absent. Good? All right. So we're going to go right into this. Text amendment. Just a point of order for everyone who's here. We're going to get to the 824 in its normal order, right? We should go right through. And I think people know there's no public comment required for 824, but we've kind of set a precedent in the past that we've let some folks speak on 824s, and we're going to do that tonight. I've asked this group of folks if they could get one spokesperson because it looks like they're all on the same page. So if you'd prepare for that when we get to that application, that would be great. So we'll start with number one, text amendment. Application, Town of Trumbull Planning and Zoning Department is requesting to modify Trumbull zoning regulations by revising Article 8, uses prohibited in all zones, to extend the prohibition of cannabis establishments for another year. Copy of regulation on file with Trumbull P&Z office and town clerk. Mr. LeBrandy, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We just to let you know, we received an approval letter from the MetroCog, a regional planning agency, that said there's no regional impact.
Okay. So I'll just state for the record, what we said last time is it's not so much that this commission is anti-cannabis or looking to prevent it. It is a check and balance till all the laws or enforcement and DUI and under the influence have been coming to pass. And there have been some folks showed up in the past that may have had intent, but they had no plan. And we clearly told them our voices and our minds are open. If they came with an application, we would revisit it. And no one has, in the past couple years, said we would desire to come change this. So we're going to talk and act now. If any commissioners would like to comment on this right now.
Status quo is fine by me. I think it makes sense to continue. There's no demand. So
Right.
why change the strategy?
Okay. Any comment? No?
Through the chair.
Yep.
I want to quote the minutes from a year ago. Commissioner Rich Deacon inquired about the lack of studies over the past 10 years regarding cannabis establishments. I've been asking every year when the study is going to start. We keep kicking the can. If we want to ban it, if we want to allow it, great, let's have the chat. We keep postponing it. I think we should set a actual timetable to have the discussion about whether or not that is a suitable use in town. I know the Social Equity Commission has put a pause on new cannabis licenses statewide. Many of the pieces of testimony we receive, which we receive every year, the only difference is the date, are generally state issues. It's legal whether we like it or not. We do have ultimate control over whether or not we allow establishments here. Let's make the choice. I'm open to, as I think we all are, the discussion. I think we're all open-minded. Maybe it'll be banned. Maybe it'll be allowed. But every year we keep saying we'll do it next year. Let's do it this year.
Right. So I don't disagree with anything you said. One of the things we have is we all have a busy schedule, and we have said blatantly, or plainly, probably a better word, we have said plainly we are open to it. But in the planning and zoning world, unlike if you build it, they will come. If you write it, they don't necessarily invest. So there is no driving force for us to go have to do this, as we've just said. If somebody came knocking, then we would have to explore that when it's time. So we're open to it and can work with staff and see what they want to do. It's all good. Is there anybody here to speak for or against this? Go right ahead.
I think I pressed the button. Good evening. My name is Lori Hayes O'Brien. I live at 11 Blackhawk Road. I am the chairperson of TPOD, Trumbull's Prevention Partnership. I believe you got a letter from our project director and hopefully from the health department, potentially Chief Lombardo. And Commissioner Deacon, I can hopefully, by the time I read through some of that, address what you just brought up. It wasn't in my notes, but now you got me thinking. I'm speaking in support of your first agenda item regarding the extension of the prohibition of cannabis establishments in the town of Trumbull for another year. First, on behalf of TPOD, I'd like to thank you for considering this text amendment. I believe you received correspondence, as I said. I'd just like to repeat a couple of points that were made from Melissa's letter that highlight why this extension is so important. As a prevention coalition, we continue to be concerned about how cannabis commercialization affects our young people and their families. Research shows that two of the main drivers of youth cannabis use are low perception of harm and increased access, both of which are impacted by businesses in their community. Additionally, there's a growing body of evidence that today's high-potency cannabis is linked to greater rates of addiction, mental health conditions, increased ER visits for marijuana intoxication, and impaired driving. We encourage you to continue to observe how this industry impacts the towns in our region that allow these businesses and consider the following potential issues that could put undue burden on our town's resources and impact on our town's culture. Security, as cannabis remains a cash-only business. Compliance checks to prevent sales to minors. Signage and advertising, proximity to schools, parks, and other places where youth congregate. Disposal of remnants and byproducts, and that's just to name a few. We thank you for your consideration in supporting this important extension. And to your point, TPOD has done some research on this, and we would happily, help you guys out with anything. We obviously keep an eye on everything throughout the region. Our project director and our project coordinator know more about cannabis than anyone I've ever met. They are very knowledgeable about anything that's done with the laws and keep an eye on the whole region and that state of Connecticut as this has kind of moved along. So if you'd like to reach out to us, I'm available, Melissa's available, and we can certainly help you start that conversation and get more information, at least to do some research. We'd be glad to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak for or against? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a motion to close. Mr. Deacon, second. Mr. Silber, favor aye, 1, 2, 3, 4. Any further discussion? No, I'll take a motion. Motion to approve, Mr. Deacon. Is there a second? Ms. Delvecchio. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor aye, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, next. We have 6 Cambridge Drive. Applicant Newman Realty Partners LLC is requesting a special permit site plan to construct a 3-story self-storage building and 5 one-story self-storage buildings and associated site improvements in industrial zone IL2 pursuant to Article 2, Section 4.24 and Article 15 of the Town of Trumbull Planning and Zoning Regulations, File 2411.
Evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Nuff. I'm an attorney with an office at 135 Broad Street in Milford. We promise to be quick. We can't be as quick as your first application, but we can try our best to come close.
Got to have goals.
All right. Well, it's nice to see all of you again. So, as you said, I'm here tonight on behalf of Newman Realty Partners, which is the contract purchaser of the subject property. It's located in the IL2 zone. It's about 4.5 acres. As you know, there's currently a vacant building and parking deck on that site, both of which have been the subject of vandalism, and I think you can categorize them as eyesores. We propose to demolish those structures and construct a 112,000 very attractive climate-controlled self-storage building with 5 one-story separate buildings. The ingress and egress will remain in its current location on Cambridge Drive. As you know, there's extensive mature vegetation. We're going to be adding landscaping, and so to take you through the site plan, we have Brian Phillips from from Langen Engineering. We also have Joe Avini, who's our landscape architect, and Michelle Bach from 1784 Holdings, which is going to be the operator of the self-storage facility. Also with me this evening is the contract purchaser, Rick Newman from Newman Realty Partners, but he's here for any questions if you like. So with that, Brian.
Thank you very much. My name is Brian Phillips, a senior project manager with Langen Engineering in New Haven, Connecticut. I can give a brief overview of the site design. We are at 6 Cambridge Drive in Trumbull. The site is bounded by Cambridge Drive to the north, industrial parcels to the north and east, and then Bridgeport, the town line, the city line, runs down Old Town Road. So to our south and west is Bridgeport. This is just a survey of the site. Essentially, the site grades are such that the site grades from south to north, approximately elevation 245 in the south to elevation 217 at Cambridge Drive. So there is some elevation change. There's a small wetland pocket in the northwest corner of the site. It is a detention basin, which over time has become a wetland. All of our site disturbances will be well outside of the wetland setback. There is also a transmission line easement, which we'll have some more information on later on. Here's our proposed site plan. So as Attorney Nuff mentioned, we are proposing to demolish the existing pavement and structures on the site to construct a new approximately 110,000 gross square foot, 3-story self-storage building, as well as 5 one-story drive-up style self-storage. The entrance will be off of Cambridge Drive, and then there will be a secure access to the drive-up units. We are also proposing an 8-foot height masonry unit screen wall, which will border and secure the drive-up units. We are currently proposing 10 parking spaces on this plan. Here we're just showing site circulation. We've worked with the fire marshal to ensure proper circulation for emergency vehicles. Currently, the site is approximately 42% impervious coverage. We, in the proposed condition, will be at about 46%. So to handle that increase, we're proposing 2 underground detention systems to handle stormwater quantity and quality. Existing site hydrology will remain generally from existing to proposed. Traditional utility design, using some of the existing connections that the site already has with the utilities in the road, as well as on the rooftop, there will be some of the smaller air conditioning units which will be screened from view. Here we have the erosion control plan, just standard erosion controls during construction. And I will welcome up Joe Avini to just walk through briefly the planting.
Thank you. And for the record, my name is Joe Avini. I'm a landscape architect with Langen. Before jumping into the proposed plan, a major component of this is the protection and preservation of large existing and much of it native vegetation around the perimeter of the site. Primarily maples, oaks, some hickories were observed just walking through the site in these areas. And that's shown in the green around the west and the south sides on the screens. Another component is the existing Eversource easement that runs through the front of the site. Eversource does have some requirements that we had to make sure that we were conforming with in our planting plan. There's 2 primary zones. In blue is the wire zone, which is the width of the towers themselves, plus 15 feet on either side, and then the peripheral zone, which extends from the wire zone out to the edges. There are some requirements in these zones, so the wire zone does not allow any plantings greater than 8-foot height, and in the peripheral zone, no plantings greater than 25 foot. So we wanted to make sure that we were conforming with these standards. In terms of planting, we are removing some of the larger overgrown species, many of them evergreen, in the front of the site, which poses security concern currently, and we're replacing with lower native and adaptive vegetation, many of them flowering species and pollinator species. Around the perimeter of the site, where we're grading into the slope on the south side, we're proposing a low-growing wildflower and native mix with some grasses as well. Again, plenty of pollinator species in there was one of the main goals, to attract a natural habitat throughout the site. Some images of some of the plantings we're proposing. Fall interest, winter interest, so providing a variety of interest through the planting, again, harping on the native and pollinator species. For site lighting, we're proposing all LED fixtures. We're illuminating the site per IESNA, so Illuminating Engineering Society of North America recommendations, which is a 0.5 foot candle level. All fixtures will be 3,000 Kelvin and dark sky compliant. There's 1 light pole proposed on the site, and that's outside of the easement, internal to the site, and the remainder are 12 or 10 foot height sconces, so very low level. And with that, I'll turn it back to Brian. Thank you.
The only remaining slides that we have here are just, some standard floor plans of the building architecture. And then there are some perspective renderings, elevation views of the front and side of the building.
Yeah. The hypothetical, what it's going to look like is always good for the commission.
Exactly, yeah, I'll go to those. So here we have some views. On the bottom is from Cambridge Drive, so you can see the front of the building as well as that 8-foot masonry screen wall to the left. And then the top picture is if you're standing directly west of the site on Old Town Road, looking through that transmission line easement to the building. And then here's just some of the materials used in the building construction. So I guess if there's any questions or if any additional information is needed, I'm happy to.
How many total units in the different sizes?
I don't have the exact. Do you have the?
Come on, somebody's got to know what you're building.
No, Michelle? Okay.
That would be the
Apologies,
only
we're
thing
getting
I
that
would think
knowledge.
I would ask is because, if you're building 50 storage units, you're going to see 30 people a month. If you're building 5,000, you're going to see 2,000 people a month. So just how many units are you building is kind
So
of.
in terms of, I guess to go back to your question about trips, we did look at a similar facility, which has been open for 4 years, and this data was taken recently. So there's a lot going on here, but essentially the highest trips that we were seeing per day is four visits to a similarly sized building. And that was sort of, some of the background of the amount of parking. We're showing 10 parking spaces total.
So it's not 24 hours. Is this what your facility is going to be? 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., not 24 hours?
Correct.
Okay.
Through the chair. Is there going to be a staff office there?
There is going to be a staff office, 2 employees. The site will be monitored while the employees are on site. There's, security cameras all throughout. And then there is a security company that monitors the site 24/7.
Okay, thank you.
I'll welcome Michelle.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
with 1784. We're the developer and operator of the proposed storage facility. So we're estimating around 1,200 units in the facility.
1,200 units.
Yeah, and these units range from anywhere from a 5x5 space, so 25 square feet, to like a 10x25 unit. So that's why the smaller amount of units we can put in there, the number obviously grows. So that's what we're estimating,
Okay.
1,200.
You guys good? I skipped staff. I usually go to staff. And sitting up here threw me off. I'm off my game tonight. Yeah. So, Rob, is there any inputs from staff before, in case you may cover any questions the commissioners may have initially?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to, there's a lot of history on this site too in the past. This has been a very, I don't want to say the bane of the existence of the Planning and Zoning Department, but in terms of blight in the police department, safety, this is definitely a plus for the town here too, which they're going to be knocking down the existing building, the existing parking garage for a low user in terms of town, in terms of water, sewer, public safety, and so on. So staff believes this is definitely a plus with the town. We did review the plans. I have seen similar self-storage facilities with the same amount of parking. Like they stated, during the hours of operation, they're just going right to their pod. Even though there's 10 spaces, they'll drive right to their pod, empty out, and then just go on their way. It's a plus that they are not doing a 24-hour service. One of the questions I did have was the security cameras along there. Another question I'd like to see is in the back of the property, there's a retaining wall. And I know that if it's 8 feet high in the back, I think for the wall, but due to the topography, can somebody Climb on top of the wall, go on the storage facility, and get in the facility.
So I believe you're talking about the retaining wall that's out there now on the southeast.
The last building to along Old Town Road.
Yep. Yeah. So that,
Because due to the topography, it slopes pretty high. So I don't know in terms of regrading.
yeah, so that retaining wall you're talking about the existing wall to remain.
Is that remaining?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
we're proposing to remain. It is very close to the property line, and there are very mature trees at the top of the wall. So to remove that wall would mean, losing trees which are not on our property currently. We're proposing to keep that wall. It is about 10 feet or so from our proposed 8-foot screen wall. So there is some distance between the existing retaining wall and, our secured screen wall that we're proposing.
And this is going to be a key fob, right?
Yes.
So there's going to be an arm also going in
Yeah,
and
in the
out?
front of the site, there is, one slide gate, which the customers, or the customers will have an access, either fob or keypad.
Yeah,
Sorry, okay.
Sorry, that's
sure.
okay. Sorry, I can answer the security questions. So the gate, it's actually a keypad, so we don't use fobs, but every tenant is given a very specific code just to them. It's never recycled to a different tenant at move out or move in. So it is paired to you, usually a combination of your social security number, so it's not anything that somebody can guess. It's not a generic number. Every entrance on the facility is locked, not just the gate, but to the loading areas that access the climate-controlled building are also locked 24/7. And when you do come in to access it, the doors only stay open for less than 5 minutes before they relock. So you cannot prop the door open or have it stay open for an extended period of time. And our roll-up doors to the main building close instantaneously in less than 60 seconds once the vehicle comes in. So they're...
And you
then-
have cameras on site, I assume?
Yes, so for security cameras, we believe in no blind corners. So inside and outside, the whole entire property is surrounded by them.
Okay. And I did see on the plan, photometric plan, there's no light pollution beyond the existing parcel, right?
Correct.
No.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and the camera system is monitored 24/7.
good. Just one other question, Mr. Chairman, is that the utilities are not visible from the street, the rooftop utilities, correct?
Correct, yeah, we are going to be putting some of the smaller air conditioning condenser units on the roof, but they will be screened.
Okay. And there is one ADA compliant parking space, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
You have anything?
A few minor questions. The existing buildings, all concrete, pretty much. The demolition, nothing buried on site. How are you processing the large amount of concrete?
So I believe that we have performed a phase one on the site, and everything will be handled in accordance with all environmental regulations.
But no buried concrete structure on site?
You mean if there is existing, or?
Yeah, the existing, when you
Yeah,
demo the
It will
building
be
and
removed,
removed
Yes.
from the site?
yes, or reused.
Or
and then-
reprocessed.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Do you have any cut and fill calculations, or is there
I do not have a cut and fill calculation. We strive to balance the site as much as possible. With the grades that we're working with here, it's, there isn't a lot of play, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
But any export or import, will be done under the accordance of the town regulations.
There was a couple comments I had as far as the drainage goes. You're going to need to see test pits, perk tests, all that kind of stuff prior to a sign off on a building permit.
So we are proposing 2 underground detention systems. We did assume a conservative infiltration rate, I believe 2 inches per hour. This will be confirmed prior to construction with test pits and percolation tests.
And you're proposing to reuse some of the existing RCP pipe. Could you video that to to confirm that it's in good condition?
So the only reason why we are reusing that pipe in the front is there actually is a structure on our neighbor's driveway which has a very small drainage area. That water flows through our site's drainage down towards the detention basin. So, you know, in the interest of being a good neighbor, we wanted to keep that flow.
No problem. I just want you to assess the condition of the pipe by videoing it,
Yep, we
making
will.
sure that doesn't have any voids or collapsed portions. I mean,
Yes,
the pipe has
we
been
will
there
do
for a
that.
while.
Yep.
Have you done any assessment on the current retention system?
Retention?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of overgrown over there. Was that
We
calculated?
have not. So we are not proposing to touch that system at all. All of our flows are either matching or attenuating flows to that detention system. So we're not increasing any water from our site going
Yep.
to that system.
But everything from the site actually goes through that retention system, no?
Correct.
So
Correct.
the impact of if that's in poor shape, everything backs up.
So the actual detention system that's there now is about 20 feet plus or minus below our site. It goes down. We are providing a pretty large amount of our own underground detention on our site. So we will be reducing flows to that system.
Understand, but I think that you need to do an assessment of that, at least to make sure that it's not completely overgrown. Because right now, when you drive by, you can't even see it.
Yeah, we are working with Tatiana. I've had correspondence with her back and forth, regarding engineering comments, and she had said that working with engineering on the detention basin.
I am the town
Yeah.
engineer, so, yes. Okay, that was it.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to ask, so there is going to be a sidewalk on Cambridge, correct?
There is no sidewalk on Cambridge Drive. There's no sidewalk currently on Cambridge.
Is that a possibility?
It is from a grading perspective, there are some trees and along the right-of-way. I guess the extent of the sidewalk, are you?
Yeah, so we're just looking to make the area walkable, and we're hoping that in the future the parcels in the rear kind of grow. So, we're looking for something to that perspective.
Yeah, we would be open to working with engineering to take a look at a sidewalk.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So, Mr. Moore, when we're done with your questions, I followed them. Are any of your questions going to become stipulations at the end? No, they're all normal course of business.
The normal part of the review process that engineering does.
Okay. One question I had, I didn't get my finger on. I assume the larger building is temperature controlled, correct? Are the outer buildings temperature controlled, or they're standalone?
I don't believe that they are. They are not.
Okay. So at this time, we'll go to commissioners. Mr. Deacon, any questions? Ms. Delvecchio?
Yeah, the only question I had is, this building, the newer building extends further down than the one that's existing. And it looks like you're keeping most of the mature trees that are back there, which is a great border. I just wanted to confirm.
That's
that most
correct.
of that's
Yes.
there. Okay.
While the building is sort of pushed back, we are going to be retaining the existing grade behind the building. So we're not causing, additional disturbances back there. But our goal is to maintain all of the mature existing vegetation.
Okay. And then, so the masonry wall, you said, just to confirm, it goes around the the standalone.
That is correct.
All right, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Silver?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned Tatiana, and you mentioned that the spot, that retention pond in the northwest corner is now a wetland. Has this gone to the Wetlands Commission?
So we are well outside of the
100-foot boundary
upland
line?
review
All right,
area.
okay.
So our plan was sent to her for review.
Okay.
And it was determined that that was not required.
Good, thank you. I think the screening around that building on Old Town Road and Cambridge both is really good the way it is, but it presents as overgrown. Are you essentially going to leave it like that so that people, Bridgeport residents on Old Town Road are going to not be able to see that building?
No, the goal is to, save the mature trees as much as possible. A lot of them have vines growing up, so to clean all of that up is our goal. To
Clean it up
the
and
existing
you still screen the building though, right? So people across the street, I know they're not our constituents, but right across the street, they're going to, they're not going to have a 3-story building like out there.
No. The at the rear on to our south on Old Town Road,
Yeah.
those houses are quite a bit above the elevation of our site, so they may see, 1 story or the top of the building. They likely will not see the drive-up units, and the existing vegetation there is such that during the summertime you can't really see into the site.
Yeah, that's
And
sort of
then
what I'm getting at.
As you
Yeah.
turn, maybe I'll welcome Joe back.
And I could speak a bit more to the preservation, just walking through the site. There is a lot of native understory, which you see in a typical New England forest. So the goal would be to retain that. And that's a lot of the material that you see that blocks out some of those views. So we wouldn't want to clear cut the site so that we're opening that whole area up.
Right. And so just sticking with the Old Town Road aspect, so you're screening the HVAC with what? Like a picket fence kind of a look, or, a stockade fence on the roof?
Yeah, the screening on the roof will be screened by the actual building wall. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
an additional metal or wood fence or anything added. It's the physical building wall.
Okay.
The roof plane sits 4 to 5 feet below the top so that it screens the actual unit.
Okay. And this is probably a no-brainer, but the space for somebody to, on these standalone buildings, is space for people to be unloading into their own bay, and anybody who wants to get past them can, fire trucks, whatever?
Yeah, the drive aisles are 35 feet wide, so that it allows for, if there's a parked car, still
Right.
cars or traffic to go around them as well.
And is 4 visits a day a reliable number? Because it's shockingly small. Low.
Yeah. So the chart that was shared earlier is from one of our other existing facilities. It's been open for several years. So it is true data that we have taken from other facilities. So yeah.
So it's
we
highly
see
unlikely that you're going to have 2 people loading stuff or unloading stuff at the same, right next to each other.
Very, very unlikely.
Okay. I just had one other thing, and I wanted to check either with the Economic and Community Development Director or with the planner. How long has this building that's there now been vacant?
Rena Backler, Director of Economic and Community Development. The building has been vacant since at least 2013. There was some activity in it for, a small amount of activity in it at one point. It's uninhabitable at this time. It's basically condemned. It's been destroyed. All the copper's been taken out. So it's not salvageable. And folks may not know this, but it was sold on the 10X auction block to an owner in Abu Dhabi who is an absentee owner. And the town has been through terrible things trying to get this building, and it's affected the whole neighborhood. All of the other businesses there, they're all thrilled that this proposal is coming forward. They see it as a great amenity to both the housing and the other businesses in the area. And I had that as a particular comment from one of the new medical practices that moved in. And then also, they see it as a low traffic generator, as we're just discussing. I mean, we had a 60,000 square foot building there that at one point years ago was occupied with employees and so forth. So obviously, it handled a high capacity of traffic at one time. I do believe you went through the police commission too. I want to, yeah, okay. I thought there was a delay in that meeting, so I wanted to make sure. But they've gone to police commission as well, so.
And Rena, is there a tax advantage to having it occupied and
Oh, yeah.
functional?
I believe we just settled, and I don't know if Jim would know this, but we just settled a tax appeal from the derelict owner that I was discussing. And I do believe that this is approximately a $14 million roughly project. Is that about right? I don't know. But I don't know the exact capital investment, but let's say it's somewhere around there. And I think certainly it'll be a positive to not just the neighborhood, but to our grand lists over time. Because that other that other situation was just deteriorating.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Finished.
Thank you. All set? Is there anybody from the public to speak for or against this application? Come on up.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Evan Seaman. I'm a lawyer at Robinson & Cole in Hartford, and I represent the abutting property owner at 12 Cambridge Drive, which is 12 Cambridge Drive Realty LLC, and I'm here to speak in support of this application for many of the reasons that the Economic Development Director just stated. This property has had issues for a number of years, and currently 12 Cambridge Drive is developed as a professional office space and is in the process of considering a redevelopment for age-restricted housing. And for any owner in the area, what is being proposed as part of this application is a vast improvement over what currently exists. It's a good project. We've reviewed it. It's a good proposal, designed well, and we're here to support this application and hope to see it approved and the property redeveloped. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here to speak for or against? Okay, hearing none. You guys are all set? Yes, you are. I'll take a motion to close.
Make a motion.
Mr. Silber, is there a second? Mr. Deacon, all in favor, aye. 1, 2, 3, 4. I will take a motion.
Through the chair. Make a motion to approve with the following condition, that the applicant consult with the town planner and/or engineer regarding construction of a sidewalk.
To construct a sidewalk. Now to have a discussion.
Let's make that mandatory.
Yeah.
That the condition will be that the applicant will construct a sidewalk to the satisfaction of the town engineer.
There you go. Town planner.
Town planner.
There you go. All right. So we have a motion with an addendum right from go. So is there a second to that? Ms. Del Vecchio. Okay. Any further discussion on the motion as made with the amendment to add a sidewalk? We heard no stipulations from staff, so I think this is,
We don't have to vote separately on the amendment, or do we?
no, he made it one, so
All right.
we can just leave it. When they're done separately, yes, so. Hearing no others? All in favor? Aye. 1, 2, 3, 4. Congratulations. Thank you for doing business in Trumbull. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And by the way, we're still on the record, but it's not part of your case. We did not establish your working hours because we don't like to do that. So let your market determine. You are going to establish your hours. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Yep. Next on the agenda is an 824 referral, municipal improvements referral. Report to the town council regarding the purchase of real property owned by Grace Episcopal Church located at 5958 Main Street and Edgewood Avenue parcels E06-206, 207, 209, 210, 211. So, who's going to make the initial? Is the first selectman going to make the initial as opposed to staff? Okay, please join us. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
I'm going to read my statement for the record, so it can be put into the record.
With your name and address.
Vicky Tesoro, Town Hall. No. Which address would you like?
Whatever you'd like to provide.
I'll put my other address, which is 133 Beechwood Avenue.
There you go.
Okay. So, as required by Connecticut law, I am requesting a report from the Planning and Zoning Commission to the Town Council regarding the purchase by the town of certain property commonly known as 5958 Main Street, Trumbull, Connecticut, parcel number E06-415, and 5 adjoining parcels identified as parcels number E06-206, number E06-207, number EO6-209, number EO6-2010, number EO6-211, now known as the property. The property consists of approximately 6 4/100 contiguous acres located on Main Street in the center of town and abutting the Pequannock River Valley. The property is commonly known as Grace Church. The Land Acquisition Committee has recommended to me that the town purchase the property because of its unique and strategic location. I have entered into a contract for the purchase of the property contingent upon the required town approvals. The acquisition of the Grace Church property is a proactive measure to control development and uphold the community standards that Trumbull residents value. By acquiring ownership of the property, the town can control and determine the future outcome of the property. The current request presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission is only for a report regarding the purchase of the property. Please note that after the town acquires the property, any future disposition, designation, use of the property by the town will require another referral to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I thank you for your consideration on this matter.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else on behalf of town or staff to make any comments on the property? No. Okay, so before I go to the public, I'm going to give my 824 speech, which I've given in the past. So to understand the concept of the 824 as it relates to planning and zoning, the town of Trumbull is not subject to planning and zoning regulations. The town of Trumbull governs itself on what it will and won't build, and that's controlled by the town council. But when the town is going to either purchase property, sell property, or significantly develop a piece of property, it requires an 824 recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. That 824 simply says we have a desired intent. The intent is to purchase, to sell, or to build something, right? And that's our only purview. Some people get confused as to why we don't dive deep into applications like this that we do on others, because it's not under our control. And then what happens from here, once that is voted on by us to recommend or not recommend, it goes to the town council for their consideration. And commensurate on our actions, that determines what the town council does. If we say we recommend, the town council gets to just vote by majority. If we say we don't recommend, the town council can still do it, they just need a supermajority rather than a regular majority. So that's the complicated detail. So tonight, this Planning and Zoning Commission is focused on should the town go forward and purchase that property for the intent as listed, nothing else. So at this time, and another detail, 824 doesn't require public comment. And as I said to one of your folks there, I like hearing what people have to say. In my whole tenure here, I've allowed the public to speak on 824s, and we're going to do that tonight. And I'm under the impression that you're all of the same opinion, so you have decided there'll be one spokesperson for you. So at this time, come on up and let us hear what you have to say.
Good evening. Mark McKeel, 27 Edgewood Avenue, lifetime resident of Trumbull, and a former 9-year member of Inland Wetlands Commission. So I guess I was elected the spokesman because they all went like that and looked at me and said, go ahead. No, I had the honor of reading into the record on a Monday evening to the Town Council L&A Committee, a rather lengthy letter stating what our concerns are. So I am not going to sit here and reread that. I've also submitted it to Linda. Linda has put it into your record.
It's part of the record, yes.
It's part of the record, yes.
Right.
So thank you for at least letting me get up and speak. I do appreciate that on behalf of our neighborhood. So I was going to read, but I'm not going to read because I'm a better speaker than I am reader, and that may not be very good. But you said we have to have goals. We have goals. You said at the beginning of this meeting, goals to Attorney Nuff and his crew. We have goals. We want to be in front of everybody ahead of time. We don't want to be coming back, excuse me, and being told, you're too late. Where were you? We are all longtime residents of the Edgewood Avenue property. There has been, excuse me, oh my gosh. So we know, and I'm going to read, I guess. We are aware this property has recently become available. We understand the need for confidentiality, privacy, and the need to move quickly to negotiate in this competitive market before a private developer can purchase the property. However, we hope that there has been some vetting for environmental concerns and that the existing buildings' property condition reports have been reviewed. It's in, I'll say my opinion, and they may nod yes or they may nod no. In my opinion, if repurposing the existing building for a senior center only is proposed, I am strongly in favor of the town purchasing the property. And I believe my neighbors are of the same opinion. Many of our neighbors, including myself, are seniors, and we'd welcome a senior use facility with limited hours of operation and similar to the Grace Episcopal Church operating conditions, which means a Sunday Mass, not a whole lot other than going on after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. However, if demolition of the existing buildings and then adding in new construction, such as a community center, a pool, clear cutting of a trail to get a trailhead connection in the backyards of our quiet residential neighborhood, that would meet with strong opposition from our neighbors. And considering there are existing alternate locations in more appropriate non-residential neighborhoods that exist for community centers, pools, etc. An interesting fact, there's 140 parcels within 500 feet of the Grace Episcopal property. That's a lot more than some of the other sites that were considered if a community center is proposed here. Additional acres in the rear of the property abut the protected open space of the Quantic River Valley, owned by the state of Connecticut and our town, as First Selectman Tesoro mentioned. So prior to Saturday, we had not heard anything about this, and then we saw it on the town website. So just imagine our shock, our reactions, and what our thoughts are. That's why we're only ones left in the room. We're concerned, and we want you to know that we have our eyes on the town, and we hope the town has their eyes on us for our well-being. We would ask if the purchase can be conditioned by the town council that the property will not be considered for a community center or swim complex now or at any point in the future. Another interesting point, the 5 additional heavily wooded properties noted on Edgewood Avenue that First Selectman Tesoro read E, whatever, 206, what they are, they're not accessible from Edgewood Avenue. We'd like to have a condition of the purchase and written into the deed, if we were to purchase the property, that Edgewood Avenue will not be extended from its current configuration to access or egress the property, adding additional traffic to our very quiet neighborhood. And can it be conditioned in writing with the town's purchase of the property that the church building be preserved and repurposed on site? I'm not familiar with its historic value, but town records indicate that it was built in 1881. It's 143 years ago that church was there. I think our oldest neighbor has been in there for 50 years. I'm 38 years, and some of my neighbors are a little bit longer. So we're resistant to change, but we understand change is going to occur. We're just asking for similar change to occur. So just in summary, our neighbors request that the town gives our concerns serious consideration should we purchase this property, that they accept our input, seek our input, support thoughtfulness and constructive conversation with us on the future land use. We agree the town should purchase this property, but we're concerned about the land use going forward. I can assure you that if the town purchases the property, and I'd suggest that this will not be the last time my neighbors and myself will request to be part of the discussion on the future property use and the planning of any such project, with the town council, planning and zoning, and other boards. That's it. In summary, we're just concerned. So we know what you folks, you have a job to do. We all understand that. We're just, this is a small contingent that on 3 days' notice was able to get here. We're a quiet neighborhood, and we'd love to have you come look at the property, the 40-foot stained glass windows. It'd be a great building for repurposing. Thank you very much for allowing us to speak.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. Go right ahead.
Rena Bacalar, Director of Economic and Community Development for the town of Trumbull. We need to clarify, Mark, there's the year that you gave the church, I believe it was built in the 60s. There's some other information on the field cards that confused me as well. I think they relate to the old schoolhouse that used to be there. So we need to just clear that up. I'm not saying I have it cleared up standing here, but I just don't want to misinform the community that it's an 1881 church, because it is not.
I took that from the field card.
Yeah, and I saw that too. That's why I'm sorry if I'm not supposed to be talking backwards or whatever, but so we'll clear that up. But the church building itself was built in the 60s, and I think perhaps we can get some clarity from some of our historical people, but I think there, again, was a schoolhouse on the property at one time that was demolished.
Right.
So we do have to do some more research, but I just don't want to overblow that scenario.
Thank you very much. So, you look like you want to say something else.
Again, we can look into the history a little bit more, but I don't believe it was a schoolhouse. There was the original church was on the property to the front of the church that's there now. And that was built in the 1800s at some point. That church was demolished when the church was built that is now standing there.
Got it. Thank you very much. So, at this point, public comment is now closed. So, I'm struggling with myself whether to give the 824 speech again now or wait till some future date as to what may take place. Because what you've said at the podium is you are in favor of the town purchasing this property. And that's where the period comes to the end of the sentence for today's activities. Okay? And as you well know, I'll just say very briefly, and I'd be glad to stay for 10 minutes and talk off the record with you about everything else that's going on as possible future developments. There's always a contingent of neighbors that come and may or may not be in favor or not in favor of something that may change the way their neighborhood was. And that's very difficult. That is the hardest thing that planning and zoning has to deal with. It really is, because everybody's our neighbor. Everybody's concerns are valid, but sometimes a choice has to be made. Today, it's only for us, should the town purchase this property, and should we recommend to the town council in favor of the town purchasing this property. And it only got mentioned very briefly. Everything else was outside of the purview is rather than going to the public for development. And unfortunately, for those that don't pay close attention, the Planning and Zoning Commission has very little oversight depending on what type of development shows up and knocks on the door. So it is very difficult if a 6-acre property went to market on Main Street in Trumbull. So I am personally in favor of this. I think it's a good idea. Any commissioners want to have any comment on this before we take a vote? Because we're not in a hearing. I don't think we have to close it. So this is discussion. We can just take the vote on our motion, right? Any comments before we vote? No? Any comments before we vote? Okay. This time I'll take a motion to recommend to the town council that the town purchase the property.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Deacon. Seconded by Ms. Delvecchio. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, aye. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is recommended unanimously. Thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll see you in the future. And I wasn't kidding. I will stay and talk with you in 5 minutes if you want it. So, the last two things are acceptance of the minutes from April 24, 24.
Through the chair.
Motion.
April 24th and June 11th. You want them both?
Nope, because I have to recuse myself from the 11th.
Okay, April 24th was in its regular order, and I make a motion to approve.
Second, Ms. Delvecchio. All in favor, aye. 1, 2, 3, 4. June 11th.
June 11th was in its regular order, and I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? I'm recusing myself. I missed that meeting. All those in favor, say aye. 1, 2, 3. It's unanimous with me being recused. At this time, I will take a motion to close the meeting and see you all in August.
Planners report?
He did it at the beginning. If he had one, I wouldn't let him do it anyway. I want to go home.
So moved.
All right? All in favor, aye. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you very much. I'll be right down.